We've seen that many accidents occur on these types of roundabouts in the Netherlands. This section is going to look at what makes these roundabouts dangerous and what research tells us. In the Netherlands, there are several different types of roundabout with cycling infrastructure. This illustration shows the type of roundabout that's being proposed for Fendon Road roundabout. Cyclists are provided with an annular cycle ring, and they have priority over the vehicles when they cross the arms of the roundabout. Another type of design is shown here. The cycle tracks are kept well away from the roundabout, and cyclists do not have priority when they cross the arms, but take care of their own safety. Note that in both designs, cyclists do need to give way. On the left-hand design, cyclists give way to other cyclists as they enter the roundabout, and on the right-hand design, cyclists give way as they cross the arms of the roundabout. In 2004, a report was produced by the Institute for Road Safety Research in the Netherlands that compared the statistics for these two different types of design. These were the conclusions of the report. The cyclist priority roundabouts were only 11% safer than an uncontrolled crossroads. The non-priority design, by contrast, was 87% safer. If all the roundabouts in the Netherlands were cycle priority, 61 to 85 serious injuries per year would be expected. If they were all non-priority, only 9 to 12 serious injuries would be expected. Transport for London commissioned the Transport Research Laboratory in Berkshire to conduct some trials into Dutch roundabouts. This picture shows a mock-up at the Transport Research Laboratory's facility in Berkshire. You can also still see the design on Google Earth. If only our council would conduct the same sort of research. This shows the Transport Research Laboratory's report from 2015 into the safety of the Dutch-style roundabout. There was also a report produced into the capacity of the roundabout. Now, the report found a number of safety issues, and perhaps the largest was that vehicles entering the roundabout often do not give way to cyclists. This matches the experience in the Netherlands, where many accidents are caused to cyclists this way. Motorists failed to give way on all four of the different entry-exit arm designs that were trialled by the Transport Research Laboratory. The council have said that their design most closely matches arm 4, and you can see that in this case, in 38 to 44% of the time, priority was violated. In other words, cars did not give way to cyclists when they should have done. This is what the report has to say about the issue. In all the trials in the programme, when drivers were asked about their intentions regarding giving way to cyclists on the orbital cycle track when joining the roundabout, the majority said that they would give way, typically around 90%, and an even greater majority said they were willing to give way to cyclists already crossing using the cycle lane, in excess of 95%. That their behaviour did not match this stated intention is intriguing. A very great understatement there, I think. I find these trial results extremely concerning. The study participants said that they would give way. They knew that they were being observed. They did not have the usual driving distractions, and yet they still did not give way. Just remember how artificial the environment is. We have this mock-up design in the middle of acres of tarmac, completely separated from the usual traffic conditions, and the participants knew that they were being observed, and yet they still didn't give way. If they're not going to give way then, what's going to happen on a rainy November night? When you do have all the distractions, you're listening to the radio, you've got an ambulance coming through, etc., etc. Another huge problem with this roundabout design is that it places cyclists in the blind spot of vehicles, particularly large vehicles. Here's how TRL's safety report introduces the issue. A key risk area for cyclists in London is their interactions with large vehicles. Now, this is another masterful piece of understatement. Let's just remind ourselves what lies behind this. Sad to say, there have been many deaths caused in London by interactions between cyclists and large vehicles. This is a CCTV image of a cyclist just about to be crushed to death in 2015. This led to big protests in London. Here's another example of an accident, a left-turning large vehicle, and another one. And this is an article saying that this is the 6th London cyclist killed in less than 2 weeks. The report goes on to say, during the capacity trials, drivers of longer vehicles, bus, coach, HGV and 18-ton lorry, expressed severe reservations about the visibility of cyclists using the cycle lane. And here are some of the quotes. Vision is restricted on the near side, unable to see if other cyclists are following the first. Massive blind spot on left, first cyclist seen. If second waits 2 seconds extra as you pull away, he then appears. Cannot see cyclists on near side when stopped at exit, particularly if there is more than one. Tend to see the approaching cyclist before stopping, but cycle lane then in blind spot and have no idea about following cyclists. The blind spot issue is well recognised by countries where these roundabouts have been implemented. The Flemish Foundation for Traffic Science publishes this safety advice, which I've translated. It is not safe to ride next to the truck as a cyclist. You will often sit in the blind spot. Stay safe until he has left the roundabout. And the scenario is, a truck wants to leave the roundabout. You cycle on the continuous bike path and you have to continue straight ahead, so you have priority. Safe behaviour. As a cyclist, you're often in the blind spot on a roundabout. It's therefore safer to leave the truck in front and not to take your priority. In other words, to stop or to slow down and let the truck go. The dangerous behaviour is you take priority over the truck and drive on. Clearly, you then risk being squashed by the truck. What concerns me most about this is that the design requires you to know when you're in the blind spot. Now, I think that adult cyclists, particularly those who also drive, might get a feeling about this, but that younger cyclists, children who don't drive, perhaps will not have the same awareness of when they're in the blind spot or not. So I think this roundabout design is much more dangerous to children. So unfortunately, this design sets up precisely the blind spot conflict that has killed so many cyclists in London. It is inherently dangerous for this reason. I reasoned if these blind spot accidents really were an issue, it should be relatively easy to find examples. And unfortunately, it is easy to find examples of actual accidents that have occurred. Here's one that occurred in Belgium in 2018. You can see a sad sight of a tent being erected over the site where somebody was seriously injured on a bicycle by a truck. This is the overhead view. You can see the cycle lane where the cyclist has priority. This one occurred in the Netherlands in 2017. You can see that the bicycle has been completely crushed by the truck. You can see here a view of the cycle lane and how much the truck has gone over the cycle lane before stopping. Here's a closer view. And this is an aerial view of that roundabout, showing it's a very similar design to the Fendon Road roundabout design. This one was really remarkable. The lady was dragged underneath this truck for a considerable distance after the roundabout. You can see how far the truck has gone this time, and yet she managed to survive, no doubt with serious injuries. That's the overhead view of that one. Again, you can see it's a very similar design to that which has been proposed. Note that it does have pedestrian crossings over the cycle tracks though. And this is a good moment to come back to the bus accident that we've already seen. You can see how much the bus has gone over the cycle track before it stopped. And you can see the child's bicycle under the front of the bus. And This is a quote from the newspaper article. They say that the roundabout is well constructed. There's no issue with that. But due to the large turn that drivers have to make, it's unavoidable that they do not have a view of traffic participants on the right-hand side for a few seconds. In that respect, it is quite a difficult roundabout. And that's an aerial view of the roundabout. The accident occurred just in front of the white van. Cars also find it difficult to see the cyclists. They're coming from the side opposite the driver, and it's difficult to see perhaps past passengers or the wide A-pillars that now are on some vehicles. And this does also lead to accidents between cars and cyclists. So other cities have abandoned cycle priority plans. This article shows how a new roundabout will not, in fact, give cyclists priority, because a test roundabout of cones in full size made it clear that trucks find it difficult to take the turn, and therefore cyclists are in danger. This is what was implemented instead. It's the safer roundabout design. This again at another city. Now there is a free cycle path that separates cyclists and cars and reduces the chance of blind spot crashes with trucks. So we have evidence from trials in the UK, we have evidence of research papers from the Netherlands, we have evidence from roundabouts in use in the Low Countries. There's a remarkable consistency in the data. All point to the same kind of risks with these roundabouts. Remember that the Council's original consultation was on making a safer roundabout. It's remarkable that they've chosen a design from the Netherlands which has huge safety issues, and not the safer type of design,